Chapter 1, Sis, that guy you wanted to set me up with? I think I'd like to meet him. On the other end of the line, my sister, Tiana, sounded surprised. What made you suddenly change your mind? Just a couple of days ago, you were saying you wouldn't marry anyone but Ethan Crane in this lifetime. I thought back to my grand declaration and could only laugh at how foolish I'd been. Let's just say I've woken up from a dream. Okay. Well, he's coming back from overseas at the beginning of next month. I'll let you know when. After hanging up, I set a reminder on my phone. The start of next month was still 2 weeks away. My dream was over. It was time to return to reality. Just as I finished, the bedroom door opened. Ethan Crane walked in, his face still wearing that gentle, considerate smile. He handed me a small cake box. I stood in line for 3 hours to get this for you. Give it a try. I took it and opened the box. As expected, it was strawberry flavored. I set the cake aside, my voice flat. I don't feel like cake today. Ethan sat down beside me, gently pulling me into his arms. Who's made my Stella upset? Tell me and I'll go teach them a lesson. A bitter smile touched my lips. I'd been with Ethan for 3 years, and I had told him countless times that I didn't like strawberry cake. I liked chocolate. But every single time, he brought back strawberry. At first, I thought it was because the line was long and they had run out of chocolate. Until that night, a week ago. Ethan was in the shower, and his phone, left outside, lit up with a notification from a social media app. An account called Sylvia Laughs had just posted something. Tried so many desserts, but my absolute favorite is still the strawberry cake from Springwood Lane. This account was one of his special follows. The moment I saw the username, a strange feeling washed over me. The name Sylvia was pronounced almost exactly like a nickname for me, Stella. On an impulse, I searched for Sylvia Laughs on my own phone and greedily scrolled through 3 years of her posts. She was a bright, cheerful girl who traveled the world. She was beautiful, stylish. She seemed to be living abroad but was coming home soon. Her real name was Sylvia Stone. Stella, Sylvia. Different names, but the sound was nearly identical. A strange premonition took root in my heart. It wasn't until later that I accidentally discovered Ethan's own social media handle. Strawberry cake. It was odd enough for a grown man to use such a girly username, and it was completely out of character for Ethan. But then it all clicked into place, because Sylvia had said in that post that her absolute favorite was strawberry cake. All his self-abasement, all his broken principles, were just so he could pretend, from his lonely corner, that he was her favorite. Nothing more. It was only in that moment that I finally understood why, 3 years ago, after only a single chance encounter, Ethan had pursued me so passionately. Why for 3 years he had doted on me, calling me Stella so tenderly. Why he only ever bought strawberry cake, no matter how many times I protested, he always got it wrong. It turned out he wasn't calling for Stella. He was calling for Sylvia. Ethan, oblivious to my turmoil, was still trying to soothe me. Is it that time of the month? Are you feeling down? A little something sweet will lift your spirits. This place has the best strawberry cake. Just try one bite? I felt a heavy stone lodge in my chest. I told you I don't like strawberry cake, Ethan froze, seemingly stunned by my sudden outburst. Just then, his phone rang, a jarring interruption. He answered it, and in seconds, his expression shifted from shock to elation. Okay, I'll be right there. When he hung up, his hands were trembling slightly. On his way out, he was in such a panic that he bumped into the potted plant by the door. Watching his taillights disappear into the distance, I felt a strange certainty. I opened the app and went to Sylvia Laughs' profile. She had just posted a new photo, taken outside the Seabourn City Airport. The caption read, "Finally landed strawberry cake. I've missed you to death, so today was the day Sylvia Stone returned." I quietly locked my phone and let out a long breath. It was time for this stand-in to make her exit. Chapter 2, I spent the entire night packing up my things. My clothes, my books, and all the little trinkets and art prints I had gradually added to this home over the years. I once believed I would be the mistress of this house, so I had poured my heart into decorating it. Now, just like their owner, it was time for those things to disappear. That night, it rained relentlessly. Ethan came back the next morning, wearing only a white dress shirt, completely soaked. When he saw me, his eyes darted away with a flash of guilt. He forced a smile. "Why are you up so early? You should have slept in." The air is fresh in the morning, I said. Ethan nodded, not suspecting a thing. All right, I'm going to take a hot shower. Ethan, yeah, what is it, Stella? Last night. Oh, I had to work late, he blurted out. The client suddenly dumped a bunch of urgent tasks on me. I was swamped all night, didn't even have time to eat. I'm exhausted. It's funny how people become so talkative when they lie. They're so afraid of not being believed that they pile on details to make their story more convincing. Ethan was exactly like that. He was usually a man of few words, concise and to the point. Even when he was sweet-talking me, he was never this elaborate. I was just going to ask about the jacket you were wearing when you left last night, I said. Where is it? Did you leave it at the office? Ethan visibly relaxed, letting out a relieved sigh. Yeah, at the office. Don't worry, I'm not cold. Oh, well, go take your shower. He walked over and gently ruffled my hair. Is my Stella so worried about me? I tilted my head, avoiding his touch. I quickly stepped away, putting distance between us as I stood by the window with my back to him. You should go. It's not good to stay in wet clothes for too long. Ethan's hand froze in midair. He looked surprised for a moment, but then glanced down at his drenched shirt and chuckled. Afraid I'll get you wet? You're right, can't have that. Soon, the sound of running water came from the bathroom. I never checked Ethan's phone, and he never felt the need to hide it from me. He always left it lying around. Buzz the phone vibrated. A new message. Sylvia, strawberry cake, are you home yet? Sylvia, thanks for the jacket. It was really warm. Was I surprised? Not really. The way he had rushed out of the house yesterday, flustered and anxious, I had already suspected as much. But suspecting and seeing it with my own eyes were two different things. I searched for Sly Sylvia Laughs on my phone again. She had posted a new update half an hour ago. It was a video. She was running joyfully in the rain, as carefree and playful as a pixie. When she finally stopped, someone wrapped a large jacket around her from behind, holding her tight. The man's voice was filled with a tenderness I had never heard from him. He said, "Slow down, you'll catch a cold." Sylvia asked him, "But I have you, so what's there to be afraid of?" He chuckled, his voice full of affection. That's right. I'll always be right behind you. The caption for the video read, "After all this time, it turns out you were waiting for me right here all along." Ethan walked out of the bathroom, drying his hair with a towel. Did my phone go off? I pointed to the coffee table. It vibrated once. He practically lunged for it, snatching the phone from my hand with surprising force. After replying to the message, he seemed to realize he'd overreacted again. He explained awkwardly, "The client needed me to send something over. Did I hurt you?" "I'm fine," I cut him off. "You should get to work. I'm heading out." Ethan caught up to me, grabbing my wrist. "Stella, are you angry?" No, I couldn't muster the anger. It felt like I didn't even have the right to be angry. Out of the corner of his eye, Ethan noticed several large trash bags piled in the corner of the living room. "Did you do a deep clean last night? Why is there so much stuff to throw out?" "MHM, I hummed. Ethan smiled. "All right, don't worry about it. I'll take it down later." "Ethan, did you notice anything missing from the bathroom?" "I don't think so. I wasn't paying attention," he said. "Are we out of body wash? I can go buy some." I just nodded faintly. In the bathroom, our towels, toothbrushes, and slippers were all matching sets. They were always placed neatly side by side. His were blue, mine were pink. Impossible to miss. But last night, I had packed all of my things away. All that was left in the bathroom was his set. But Ethan hadn't noticed. Maybe he had other things on his mind, or maybe he just never cared. I didn't have the energy to find out anymore. Chapter 3, that weekend was Ethan's college reunion. I hadn't wanted to go, but I was curious. What kind of girl could make Ethan pine for her for so many years? When we arrived, the karaoke bar was already buzzing with energy. Ethan's friend, Jerry Irvine, threw an arm around his neck. "What took you so long? Sylvia's back looks like your persistence is finally paying off. My man." Ethan looked flustered, pushing the gossiping Jerry off him. "Don't talk nonsense." "Nonsense? Who here doesn't know how you feel about Sylvia?" Just as he spoke, Jerry's gaze landed on me, standing quietly behind Ethan. He grinned and asked, "And this is?" Ethan introduced me awkwardly. "She's my girlfriend." Jerry froze. "Your girlfriend? You have a girlfriend? Since when?" "Wait, haven't you been waiting for Sylvia all these years? Why the sudden girlfriend?" Ethan's face darkened. At that moment, a stunningly beautiful woman emerged from the crowd, her voice drawing nearer. "Who has a girlfriend?" Jerry immediately called out, "Sylvia, get over here, Ethan says he has a girlfriend. I don't believe it for a second." The girl Ethan had been dreaming of for years had finally appeared. I had only seen her photos on social media before, but now I was seeing her in person. She was truly beautiful, the kind of beauty that hits you with an impact. No wonder Ethan had been so hung up on her. Sylvia Stone sized me up, her expression a mix of doubt and hostility. "Ethan, is she really your girlfriend?" Ethan opened his mouth, his Adam's apple bobbing with difficulty. I forced a slight smile. "I was just looking for something. I think I left something in this room earlier." Ethan looked at me, shocked. I knew he was staring, but I didn't look back. I just lowered my head and stared at my own feet. "What did you lose?" Jerry asked. "An earring," I said, making something up on the spot. "The cleaning staff was just in here before we arrived," Jerry said. "We didn't see any earring. Maybe you should go ask them," I nodded. "Okay, thanks." I turned and walked away, quickening my pace. Behind me, I could still hear Jerry laughing and teasing Ethan. "You just said that to make Sylvia jealous, didn't you? That poor girl was just looking for her stuff and you had to use her like that." Then, he turned to Sylvia. "See what you've done to the guy. It's been years, you should really make it official with him already." Sylvia's voice had lost its defensive edge, returning to its usual light, teasing tone. "Ethan and I are just best friends. Don't you guys try to play matchmaker." Best friends? I couldn't help but pause and glance back. I saw Ethan staring at Sylvia, his expression full of longing. When Sylvia uttered the words "best friends," the light in his eyes dimmed instantly. He gave a bitter smile and went along with her words. "Yeah, you've got it all wrong. Sylvia and I are just best friends." Chapter 4. When Ethan got home, I was watching TV. The evening news was on. Ethan gave an awkward laugh. "Since when do you watch the news? I thought you hated it." "After hearing too many lies, I just wanted to see something real for a change," I said. He paused, seeming to understand. He sighed. "Stella, you really misunderstood. Sylvia and I are just best friends. Jerry can't say anything nice. He was just talking nonsense. Don't take it to heart. I see. Yes, that's all it is. Ethan, can I ask you a question? Go ahead." I turned my head and looked him straight in the eye. In this world, can a man and a woman really have a purely platonic friendship? Ethan was taken aback. Then his expression turned somber. "I think so." He must have been thinking of Sylvia, even though everyone knew how he felt, even though he had waited for her for so many years. Sylvia's label for him remained best friend. She shamelessly enjoyed his love but never gave a straight answer about his feelings. If Sylvia's feelings for Ethan were purely platonic, what were his for her? Beep beep, Ethan's phone went off again. He glanced at it, his expression changing slightly. He immediately grabbed his car keys, ready to leave. "Stella, is it the client again?" I said. "You should go, don't keep them waiting." Ethan seemed to hesitate, as if he wanted to explain further. But this time, the phone rang directly. Sylvia's voice chirped like a happy bird. "Ethan, did you see my message? Hurry up, I saw it, I'm on my way." As he was leaving, Ethan said, "Stella, don't overthink things, go to bed early. I'll bring you your favorite strawberry cake tomorrow." Before I could answer, he was gone. I looked around the empty apartment, my eyes welling up. I mumbled to myself, "But I don't like strawberry cake." I had always loved chocolate cake. And I realized with a pang of sadness that I wasn't even sure who he was calling Stella anymore. Was he calling me, or was he desperately calling out another girl's name through me? Sometimes I felt like I was torturing myself. I knew it would hurt, but I still opened up Sylvia's social media profile. She had uploaded a picture of a specific brand of sanitary pads. Overnight, dry, with wings. I knew you'd always remember my habits. I locked my phone and closed my eyes. In the darkness, a wet little tongue licked my hand. I smiled and picked up Buddy. Buddy was a little dog that Ethan and I had adopted together. He was a stray, and I had taken him in because I felt sorry for him. Buddy was very intuitive. He lay quietly in my arms. His warm, soft body brought me a small measure of comfort. I gently stroked his little head and whispered, "If Mommy and Daddy have to separate, will you stay with Daddy or come with Mommy?" The little dog didn't understand why Mommy and Daddy had to separate, but the little dog knew that Mommy was sad. He tried even harder to cheer me up, wagging his tail and wiggling. My heart ached, and I hugged Buddy tightly. I could give up everything else, but Buddy had to come with me. My phone rang. It was a direct message on the social media app. Sly Sylvia laughs, I know who you are, having fun stalking my profile. I didn't reply. I just placed my phone face down on the table. But Sylvia wasn't going to let me go that easily. She sent another message. Sly Sylvia laughs, all bark and no bite. Let's meet. Sly Sylvia laughs, you want to know about my relationship with Ethan, don't you? Come and I'll tell you. Chapter 5. When I arrived at the cafe, Sylvia was already there. She wore exquisite makeup, carried an expensive handbag, and sat with her back perfectly straight. The moment she saw me, she couldn't hide the superiority radiating from her, her eyes filled with disdain. This cafe doesn't allow pets. I had brought Buddy with me. I had a few things to take care of recently, and Buddy had developed some separation anxiety. I couldn't bear to leave him at home alone. Then I'll leave, I said. It's just a dog and a mutt at that, the way you're holding it like it's some kind of treasure. He is my treasure, Sylvia sneered. Well, you certainly have poor taste. Ethan likes him a lot too, does he? It seems that after leaving me, Ethan's standards have dropped quite a bit. Not only his taste in pets, but his taste in girlfriends is just as bad. She scanned me up and down with a look of disgust. My voice was cold. Miss Stone, did you ask me here just to spout this nonsense? Sylvia laughed. What right do you have to talk to me like that? You should know very well that the only reason you're with Ethan is because of me. Because our names sound the same. So, did you know? Before you, Ethan had a few other girlfriends. They all resembled me in one way or another. And the moment I said I didn't like them, he would break up with them immediately, without a second's hesitation. I couldn't help myself. If you know how he feels about you, why do you keep playing with his heart? He's a willing participant. I want to play with him and he lets me. What's it to you? Then do as you please. I have things to do, so I'll be leaving. I stood up with Buddy in my arms and turned to go. Hey, Sylvia called out. If you beg me, I might consider telling Ethan not to break up with you. I frowned and turned back to face her. What are you trying to do? Nothing. It's fun, don't you think it's thrilling to have a man wrapped around your little finger? Does Ethan know when your period is? Does he know what brand of pads you use? I've been gone for 3 years, and he remembers everything about me. He listens to me. If you beg me, you can continue being my stand-in, stay by his side. No, thanks, I said. I have self-respect and dignity. I have no interest in being a part of your game. Buddy seemed to sense my anger and started barking furiously at Sylvia. Sylvia jumped, startled, and cursed. You mongrel, sooner or later, I'll have Ethan put you down. Rage flared inside me. You dare? Sylvia smiled triumphantly. All it takes is one word from me, and Ethan will do it with his own hands. Don't you believe me? As she spoke, she dialed Ethan's number right in front of me. It rang once before he picked up. Sylvia? Ethan, a dog bit me. Bring some rat poison over. I want to kill it. You were bitten. Is it serious? Hang on, I'm on my way. I'll take you to the hospital for a shot. Oh, relax. It didn't actually bite me. It just kept barking at me and scared me. Okay, send me your location. I'll bring the poison over now. Sylvia's smugness grew. She looked at me contemptuously. Ethan, let me ask you, if your own dog bit me, would you choose the dog or me? Ethan's response was immediate. A dog is just a dog. You're the most important. Hearing that, I instinctively hugged Buddy tighter, my body tense. Sylvia hung up and crossed her arms, watching me. Miss Sullivan, Ethan will be here any minute. Shall we wait a little? As she spoke, she deliberately reached out to poke Buddy. I quickly took a step back. I was terrified that Buddy would actually bite her. If that happened, Ethan would never let him live. All I wanted was to get Buddy out of there as fast as possible, but Sylvia grabbed my arm. Don't go, the show hasn't even started yet. Let go of me, I shook her off, but she was relentless. This time, she grabbed Buddy's tail. Buddy yelped in pain. Instinctively, I pushed her hand away from his tail. Let him go, it was just a light push, but Sylvia stumbled backward. Ah, help, Sylvia, I heard Ethan's heart-wrenching scream. And then I understood. No wonder she fell so easily from such a gentle push. It was because Ethan had arrived. Chapter 6, Sylvia stumbled and fell near the edge of the road. Just then, a cyclist passed by, and Sylvia, bumped by the bike, collapsed onto the ground. Tears instantly welled up in her eyes. Ethan, what took you so long? Ethan practically dove toward her, kneeling on the ground. I'm sorry I'm late. Where are you hurt? My foot hurts, it hurts so much. Without a second thought, Ethan scooped her up into his arms. I'll take you to the hospital to get it checked out. But Miss Sullivan is still here, Sylvia said, casting a weak glance at me as I stood on the sidewalk, holding Buddy. I watched the pair with cold eyes. The woman crying, the man consumed with concern. What a touching display of affection. Even the cyclist who had bumped her said, "Your boyfriend really loves you. It's amazing how you want to laugh when you're utterly speechless." Even a stranger thought they were the couple, while I, the actual girlfriend, hadn't received so much as a single glance from him. Ethan's eyes were bloodshot like an enraged lion, and he aimed all his fury at me. If you have a problem, take it out on me. Why would you hurt Sylvia? We're right next to the road, luckily. It was just a bicycle. What if it had been a car? Who would have been responsible for the consequences? You. I didn't know how to explain, and frankly, it wasn't my responsibility to explain. Lying in Ethan's arms, Sylvia kindly tugged on his sleeve. I'm fine, don't make such a big deal out of it. I'm sure Miss Sullivan didn't do it on purpose. I saw her push you toward the road with my own eyes, Sylvia. You're just too soft-hearted. Oh, you know me, I've always been this way. The ache in Ethan's eyes was impossible to hide. I don't know how you managed all those years abroad by yourself, how much you must have suffered. I had no desire to argue or to watch this farce any longer. If you're so worried, take her to the hospital for a full checkup. I'll cover the medical bills and lost wages. I'm leaving. Stop right there, Ethan commanded. Apologize. I turned back in disbelief, meeting his dark, menacing gaze. What did you say? I said, apologize to Sylvia. Now, I laughed, a humorless, angry sound. Ethan, we're standing right in front of the cafe. Why don't you go check the security footage first, get the facts straight, and then decide who should be apologizing? Did you or did you not push her? If you pushed her, then apologize. I straightened my back. I'm not the one who needs to apologize. If you're not satisfied, call the police. I hailed a cab with Buddy and left. As we drove, the taxi driver asked, "What's wrong, young lady? Are you crying?" I wiped a tear from my cheek. No, I'm not. Sure you're not. Had a fight with your boyfriend? I turned my head to look out the window. I knew that this time, it wasn't just a fight between Ethan and me. The moment he told me to apologize, it was well and truly over. Back at the apartment, I quickly packed a few essential items, picked up Buddy, and left the place I had once thought was my sanctuary. My sister, Tiana, called. Stella, have you bought your plane ticket yet? What's the date? The 8th, I said. Oh, that's only a few days away. Let me know once you've booked it, and I'll come pick you up from the airport. It's okay, sis, I can manage on my own. Haha, well, it's not just me. The guy I wanted to set you up with, he wants to pick you up. By the way, is there anything you need me to get for you before you move in? Let me know, and I'll prepare it for you. I looked down at Buddy in my arms. I don't need anything. Sis, could you just get a dog bed and some dog food for me? Is that the little dog you and Ethan raised together? MHM, I confirmed. I'm bringing him with me. What, did Ethan not want him anymore? No. This time, it was Buddy and I who didn't want Ethan anymore. Chapter 7, the next morning, I took Buddy to the vet for his final vaccination. When I received his vaccination records, the veterinarian said, Buddy's vaccinations are all complete. He can now play safely with other dogs. I asked, is a dog of Buddy's age okay to fly on a long-haul flight? Are you planning to have him transported as cargo? Yes. Buddy is still young, and because he was a stray, he has some separation anxiety. It's best not to be away from his owner for extended periods. I was worried. I'm moving abroad soon, and I have to take him with me. The vet thought for a moment. You could try breaking up the journey. Instead of one long flight, book connecting flights. You can use the layover time to comfort Buddy. I nodded. After leaving the vet's office, I followed the doctor's advice and booked my tickets. The 8-hour flight from here to Switzerland, I split into 4 2-hour segments. It would take me 3 days to finally reach Switzerland, but for Buddy, I was willing to do it. I called my sister, and she supported my plan. Just be safe. There's no rush. Take care of yourself and Buddy. I will, sis. Suddenly, a wave of intense nausea surged up my throat. I had to crouch down by the side of the road, vomiting until I was dizzy. The call was still connected, and my sister's anxious voice came through. Stella, are you okay? It took me a while to recover. I'm fine, sis. I probably just ate something bad, feeling a little sick. There was a moment of silence on her end. Stella, you should go to the hospital and get checked out. It's nothing, I'll just take some medicine. I think you might be pregnant. Her words hit me like a ton of bricks, leaving me stunned for a long moment. I left Buddy in temporary care at the vet's and went to the hospital. Staring at the test results that read, embryo 7 weeks, viable. I could barely process it. The OB-GYN asked me, are you keeping it or terminating? My throat felt tight and I didn't know how to answer. The clinic was packed. The doctor told me, why don't you discuss it with the baby's father first? Come back when you've decided. Let the next patient come in. I nodded numbly. I sat on a bench outside the clinic, clutching my phone. I didn't know if I should call Ethan. Just then, as if on cue, he called me. Why aren't you at home? He demanded, his tone blunt. He wouldn't even say my name anymore. Of course. His precious Sylvia was back. He didn't need this substitute anymore. I took Buddy out. What's up? Get to the hospital. Now, what for? Sylvia scraped her ankle. You know how she can't stand pain. Come and apologize to her, and we can put this whole thing behind us. Can't stand pain? I couldn't stand pain either. Ethan, I can't make it right now. Is walking the dog that important? No, you have to come today. I said, I can't make it, I shot back. Ethan, if I were in the hospital right now, would you still drag me to her bedside to apologize? Why would you be in the hospital? For an abortion. What? Ethan scoffed. You'd make up a lie like that just to avoid apologizing? Stella, don't you think that's ridiculous? I'm giving you 30 minutes. We'll be waiting for you at the hospital. That's it. Beep, beep, beep. He hung up. I stared at the dark screen and let out a humorless laugh. After everything, how could I still have held out any hope for him? I walked back into the OB-GYN's office and said to the doctor, my voice calm and firm, hello, I want to terminate this pregnancy. Chapter 8. For some women, an abortion is like having a heavy period. For others, it's a pain so intense it feels like dying. I was the latter. I wasn't far along, so a medical abortion was possible. After taking the medication, I spent 6 agonizing hours in the bathroom. The toilet bowl was filled with startlingly bright red blood. Clutching a small piece of tissue paper, I returned to the doctor's office. The doctor, seemingly unfazed by such sights, used a cotton swab to casually poke at the small piece of flesh wrapped in the tissue. She nodded. The embryo has been completely expelled. You can go home now. Have a family member come pick you up. A family member? I didn't have one here anymore. The only family I had left was Buddy, waiting for me at the vet's. The pain was so bad I could barely stand. I nearly collapsed, but a kind nurse caught me. Miss, are you all right? I'm fine, thank you, I said. Where's your family? Didn't the baby's father come? Give me his number, I'll call him for you. No, don't. Before I could finish, my own phone rang. The moment I answered, Ethan's angry voice accosted me. What do you mean you're not answering your phone? You think you can just run away from your responsibilities? Sylvia is crying from the pain. What's so hard about saying you're sorry? Crying from a scraped ankle. What about me, who had just had an abortion and was so weak I could barely stand? Ethan, I'll say it one more time. I'm not coming and I am not apologizing. If you keep this up, I'll have to call the police. Stella, we were together for 3 years. I don't want it to come to this. Just come over, swallow your pride, and apologize. Sylvia is very kind-hearted. I'm sure she'll forgive you. Go ahead, call the police. If they investigate what happened and still think I should be the one to apologize, then I will. With that, I hung up. The nurse brought me a cup of hot water and let me rest for a while. I left the hospital and took a cab to the vet's office. When Buddy saw me, he was ecstatic, whining and wiggling with joy. The vet smiled. Buddy really loves you. My eyes grew misty. I know. Buddy's love for me is the only thing that will never change. By the way, how come your boyfriend didn't come with you this time? You two always came together for Buddy's shots. I don't have a boyfriend anymore. You broke up. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. It's okay. Thank you for taking care of Buddy. We'll be going now. I stepped outside, hailed a cab, and out of habit gave the driver my home address. A second later, I regretted it. Driver, sorry, not there. Please take me to the airport instead. The driver asked, are you going out of town? Don't you need to go home and pack? Number, please hurry, thank you. On the way, I changed my flight to the earliest one available. This place, these people, and that home, none of it was worth holding onto anymore. Since I had decided to leave, I might as well make it a clean break. Chapter 9. I once thought this city was my final destination, that leaving it would be like death. But as I finally settled into my seat on the plane, an unexpected sense of relief washed over me. Letting go wasn't so hard after all. Other than Buddy, who was in the cargo hold, I hadn't brought a thing. I took one last look at the scenery outside my window as my phone rang, its timing as unwelcome as ever. It was him again, still pressuring me to go and apologize to Sylvia. Just then, a flight attendant came by. "Ma'am, we're about to take off. Could you please turn off your phone or switch it to airplane mode?" "Of course." As the screen went dark, I felt a lightness I hadn't experienced in years. After several failed attempts, Ethan pressed the dial button one more time. "The number you have dialed is switched off." Impatient with the automated message, he frowned and hung up. Across from him, Sylvia kicked his shin with the tip of her shoe, pouting. "I was just talking to you. Don't tell me you weren't listening." "Sorry." Ethan rubbed his temples and explained. "What were you saying?" Sylvia immediately smiled. "I'm sitting right here. Who else could you be thinking about?" Ethan hesitated for only a moment before saying, "Stella's phone is always on, 24/7. She once told me it was in case I needed to reach her. But today, I can't get through at all." An ominous feeling crept into his heart. Could something have happened to her? Before the thought could fully form, Sylvia's voice cut in. Her smile widened. "You should definitely be concerned about her. But you're a man, you don't understand how a girl's mind works. Right now, she's probably just waiting for you to come looking for her frantically, apologize, cheer her up, and admit you were wrong. Then she can hold it over your head." Her words instantly diluted Ethan's concern for Stella. That's right, what could possibly happen to her? She was probably just sulking over what happened, playing hard to get. He hadn't done anything wrong. He couldn't just bow his head for no reason. Sylvia then added, "Oh, by the way, I just saw that a popular bubble tea shop opened nearby. You can't order online, you have to wait in line. But I don't feel like going out. Can you go get it for me?" Ethan never refused her requests, and this time was no exception. He stopped worrying about Stella's whereabouts and went out to stand in line for Sylvia. By the time he finally got the bubble tea, Stella had already landed in another city. The sky over Seabourn was a clear, brilliant blue, with not a cloud in sight, a perfect match for Stella's current mood. To get Buddy back as quickly as possible, Stella had paid for expedited pet transport. In less than half an hour, his carrier appeared on the conveyor belt. But Buddy, who had just been terrified by Sylvia and then spent nearly 2 hours alone in the dark, cramped carrier, was now stressed out. A furry ball was curled up in the corner of the carrier. As soon as Stella's hand touched the door, she heard a low growl. Her heart ached. She said softly, "Buddy, it's me. Don't be scared. We're going home now." She had no luggage, so on the taxi ride home, she held the carrier on her lap. It wasn't until she got out at her apartment complex that she checked on Buddy again. Perhaps because he was back with his owner, Buddy seemed much calmer. Stella breathed a sigh of relief. She opened the carrier, lifted Buddy into her arms, and carried the empty case as she soothed him. "It's okay. No one will ever hurt you again." Chapter 10. Just as she carried him through the main gate of the complex, a car horn blared from nearby. Startled, Buddy immediately struggled out of her arms and bolted in the opposite direction, away from the complex. He was terrified, and no matter how loudly Stella called, he wouldn't stop. "Buddy, come back," Stella ran after him, carrier in hand, but the relentless flow of traffic and a red light blocked her path. By the time she crossed the street, Buddy was nowhere in sight. Desperate, she started asking anyone who might have seen him for help. "Excuse me, have you seen a small, scared-looking dog run by? About this big, just a common mixed breed." "Hi, my dog got scared and ran this way. Did you see which direction he went? He has a collar, but he's not a purebred, just a little yellow dog." "Okay, thank you," Stella asked everyone she passed until her throat was dry and her heart was pounding with anxiety, but there was still no sign of Buddy. She didn't even know where she had ended up, but she stubbornly refused to give up. But time ticked by, and the sky began to darken. As the streetlights flickered on, Stella finally broke down. She found a quiet corner, leaned against a wall, and slowly sank to the ground, burying her face in her arms and crying. Her sobs were quiet, but tears quickly soaked her sleeves. She was so lost in her grief that she didn't notice footsteps stopping beside her. A packet of tissues was offered to her, and a warm voice said, "Hello, is something wrong? Perhaps I can help." The voice belonged to a man who sounded mature and steady. Stella looked up, her vision blurred by tears, and saw a kind, composed face. He looked to be in his 30s, dressed in a light gray, tailor-made suit with a pocket square peeking out. His attire made one think of words like elite, but his voice was approachable. "Don't worry, I'm not a bad person. It's just getting late. If you don't want to tell me what's wrong, I can call a cab to take you home." "Thank you." For some reason, Stella stopped crying and told him about Buddy running off. The man gently comforted her. "The streets around here aren't too complicated. If Buddy ran along the main road, he might turn back once he calms down. I can help you look. I know this area quite well." Stella accepted the tissues and his offer of help. The man remained calm and patient, accompanying her as she searched late into the night. Stella began to feel bad. "It's very late. You should go home. I'll go print some lost dog flyers and then report it to the police." She said it calmly, but her heart was breaking at the thought that she might never see Buddy again. Chapter 11, the man saw her red-rimmed eyes and suggested, "You mentioned Buddy has a collar. If someone found him and realized he was a lost pet, they might take him to the police station. Shall I take you there to check?" If they couldn't find him there, continuing the search tonight would be pointless. Printing flyers would be a better use of time. Clinging to a final shred of hope, Stella went with the man to the nearby police station. When the officer on duty heard why they were there, he immediately asked for Buddy's description. After confirming the details, he brought Buddy out from an office in the back. "He ran in here this evening. At first, we thought he was a stray who wanted to be a police dog, but then we saw he was clean and had a collar, so we figured he had an owner. We were just about to write up a found pet notice when you arrived. You must care for him a lot." The officer handed Buddy to Stella. She immediately stroked his head and burst into tears, this time of joy. Choking back sobs, she thanked them. "Thank you so much. He's like family to me." The man stood by, watching, not interrupting her reunion with her beloved pet. "You stay with Buddy. I'll handle the paperwork." By the time Stella had composed herself and went to take care of the formalities, she found that he had already signed everything and returned. She walked out of the police station with him, standing under the warm yellow glow of a streetlight. "Thank you so much for staying with me. Could I have your name and number?" As the words left her mouth, she looked at the man's tall figure and distinguished features and realized it might have been inappropriate. She quickly added, "I just want to thank you properly once I'm settled." She had nothing with her, and it was the middle of the night. Even if she wanted to buy him a thank you gift, nowhere was open. The man smiled and pulled a business card from the inner pocket of his suit jacket. "It was nothing, don't worry about it, but all the information you're looking for is on here. If you ever need related services in the future, feel free to contact me." In an age of scanning QR codes, it was rare to see someone use something as formal as a business card. Stella accepted the gold embossed card with both hands. Intrigued, she silently read the name to herself, Cameron Crane. He had the same last name as Ethan. It seemed she had quite a bit of fate with men named Crane. But more surprising than this subtle similarity was the law firm and profession listed after his name. Senior lawyer. She had always imagined lawyers to be sharp-tongued, power-walking individuals who were intimidating to look at. Cameron's gentle demeanor shattered her stereotype. He asked, "May I know your name?" She replied softly, "Stella. Stella Sullivan." It was almost dawn, a difficult time to catch a cab. Cameron smoothly offered, "Now that we know each other's names, we're not strangers anymore. Let me give you a ride home." Everything he said and did had a comforting, gentle quality. Stella had already troubled him for so long, a little more wouldn't hurt. Cameron asked her to wait a moment and brought his car around. They made small talk about Buddy, and soon they arrived at her destination. Stella noticed he was very familiar with her apartment complex, driving directly through a side gate closer to the residential buildings, but she didn't ask why. As they were saying goodbye, however, someone passing by recognized them both with surprise. "Counselor Crane, Stella, what are you two doing back together?" The speaker was Stella's sister, Tiana. Dressed in athletic wear, she was about to go for a morning run when she unexpectedly ran into her sister and the familiar Cameron Crane downstairs. Confused, Stella asked, "Sis, you know him?" Tiana nodded. "Of course, I do. Counselor Crane was the hero who won my divorce case. If it weren't for him, I would have gotten custody of the kids at best, and I would have had to give up assets to get it. I definitely wouldn't have ended up with the majority of the property like I did now." After explaining how she knew Cameron, she sighed. "Actually, the blind date I wanted to set you up with was Counselor Crane. It's just a shame you were so head over heels for Ethan back then." Stella's expression turned awkward and she looked away. It was true. But back then, her heart was full of Ethan. She had no room to consider another man. Looking back now, it felt like the entire world had been trying to stop her from making a mistake. Cameron smiled, unconcerned. "I was busy with a case at the time, so I didn't really have time for personal matters anyway. Besides, it would have been awkward if we had met then." He skillfully diffused the awkwardness for Stella and then explained how he had run into her. Tiana had only been making a casual remark and didn't dwell on it. She smiled and extended a warm invitation. "Before I left, Mom and Dad were just making breakfast. Counselor Crane, they've been wanting to thank you properly. Since you've helped my sister now too, why don't you join us for a quick bite?" Stella had a lot on her mind and didn't say much, but her attitude was supportive. She genuinely owed Cameron a debt of gratitude and was happy to show her appreciation. But Cameron politely declined with a smile. "I'd love to try your parents' cooking, but it's already morning. If I don't go home and change before heading to the firm, my colleagues will think I wore the same suit 2 days in a row." For a lawyer, image was undoubtedly important. Tiana didn't insist. She just grabbed Stella and thanked him again. Even Buddy was made to let Cameron pat his little head. Stella couldn't shake the feeling, perhaps just an illusion, that Cameron had something he wanted to say to her. Chapter 12, Tiana wanted to ask more questions, but they were only a few steps from their front door, so she had to hold her tongue. When they entered, breakfast was just being served. The Sullivan parents were surprised to see Stella. Her father, Robert, asked, "Stella, you're back early. Why didn't you tell us? I would have picked you up." Stella managed a smile. "I wanted to surprise you, but I happened to run into Sis downstairs." "You silly girl. If you told us earlier, your father and I could have been happy for a few more days," her mother, Martha, said, her eyes more perceptive. She couldn't help but ask, "Did something bad happen over there?" Stella took the chopsticks her mother handed her smile unwavering. "I just had a book signing scheduled in Seabourn, so I came back a bit early." "But what's wrong with your eyes?" "It's just because Buddy ran off. I was worried sick and cried. If you take him out, make sure you hold onto his leash tightly. Anyway, let's eat. I'm starving." She was suddenly grateful for the chaos Buddy had caused last night. Without it, her family would have surely seen through her facade and bombarded her with questions. Tiana was the only one not fooled by Stella's act. After breakfast, on the pretext of helping her sister unpack, she pulled Stella into the small bedroom. "Tell me the truth. Is there a problem between you and Ethan? Did he do something to hurt you?" "It's over between us," Stella said, without even a bitter smile, and calmly recounted the events. She hadn't realized it until she said it all out loud, but she had given so much for a man who was never truly hers. If she had known then what she knew now, she never would have wasted her time on him. Tiana listened, her anger rising. "I knew that guy was no good. I thought he was just a bit cold, a bit selfish, a bit unreliable. I never thought he was using you as a stand-in. Does he think he's some kind of melodramatic protagonist in a TV show?" "Actually, the melodramatic protagonist is usually the woman," Stella corrected calmly. "In his case, he's more like the male lead in a teen drama, and I'm the lovesick female supporting character or the cannon fodder." The drama had gone on for far too long. Now that she had willingly exited, she would let the two leads have the stage to themselves. Seeing how calm Stella was, Tiana knew her heart was broken beyond repair and decided against dredging up old arguments. She sat down next to Stella and said seriously, "You can't think like that. I think he's the male cannon fodder. The real male lead has just made his entrance." Stella was confused. She thought her sister was about to set her up on another blind date and was about to say she had no interest in men right now, but then Tiana said Cameron's name. "I think Counselor Crane is great. He's only in his 30s, a bit older than you, but he's mature, steady, and very reliable. Stella didn't say anything. Her sister continued, he's also handsome, has a good job, and he's based here in Seabourn, so you wouldn't have to move away. Most importantly, you two have a connection. Otherwise, how could you have run into him the moment you got back? Every point sounded perfectly reasonable, but Stella still felt no interest. She shook her head. Counselor Crane is a kind and helpful person. I'm too tired to think about relationships right now. I don't want to mess up his life. Tiana tried to persuade her a bit more, but seeing that Stella seemed to have made up her mind, she switched tactics, speaking as someone with experience. You know, the most effective way to delete a file isn't to just delete it, but to replace it. It's the same with relationships. I'm not rushing you to get married. I just think you should date a few more guys. You'll realize that there are plenty of fish in the sea, and you won't think that other guy was so special. I know, sis, I get it. Buddy played matchmaker and led you to Cameron. I think he has a good impression of you too. It wouldn't hurt to give it a try. If it doesn't work out, I'll find someone even better for you. After their talk, although Stella's mind hadn't changed, her mood had certainly improved. Compared to the fleeting nature of love, the solid, unwavering care of her family was what truly mattered. Chapter 13, that weekend, after resting at home, Stella appeared at her book signing event looking her best. For an author like her, a book signing after publication was akin to a fan meet and greet. Most of the people who came to buy her book were her fans. The line was much longer than expected. Stella was good-natured and accommodated her fans' requests, whether it was for photos or personalized autographs on the title page. Her hand grew increasingly sore, and she had to shake it out from time to time. After signing countless books, she took another one from a fan, but on top of the book was a brand new wrist rest, the tag still attached. Receiving small gifts from fans at signings was common, but such a thoughtful and timely gift was rare. Stella assumed it was from a young female fan and looked up with a smile. Her words caught in her throat as she met Cameron Crane's smiling eyes. He read her novels, and he was a fan. Her perception was once again turned upside down. She blinked, stunned, momentarily forgetting she was at a book signing. Cameron's voice was gentle. You've been writing for so long, your wrist must be sore. I brought this for you. It should be more comfortable if you use it as a cushion. Stella came back to her senses and tried it. She finished her sentence with sincerity. Thank you. Is there anything specific you'd like me to write? I can give you a personalized autograph. Just sign that this book is for me, Cameron said, mimicking the requests of the readers before him. As Stella signed, he explained, I was just going to drop off the wrist rest, but everyone was in line, so I figured I'd do as the Romans do. The line was so long, he had no doubt that if he had tried to cut in, relying on his acquaintance with Stella, he would have been shamed by the fans. Stella thought he was just embarrassed to admit he enjoyed romance novels and smiled as she handed him the signed book. I understand. Thanks for coming to support me. Her novel was a love story based on herself and Ethan. The vast majority of her readers were female. Male readers were as rare as pandas. A man as handsome and distinguished as Cameron appearing here had already sparked discussion while he was in line, but Stella had only just noticed. The readers behind him, far from being impatient, were buzzing with curiosity about their relationship. They seem to know each other well. Are they friends? That guy is so handsome, and his voice is so gentle. Is he a book model the publisher hired? But he seems a bit old for that. Are you kidding? A book model wouldn't be standing in line. Cameron's decision to wait in line had indeed saved him from criticism, but it had an unexpected side effect. He quickly became the center of attention. Everyone, please don't speculate. I'm just here to drop something off, he said, not wanting to steal the spotlight. He turned to the crowd and explained, It's a bit chilly today, so I also brought some hot bubble tea. It's a thank you from Miss Sullivan to all the fans for waiting so patiently. He then gave Stella a subtle look, signaling for her to go along with it. Stella couldn't very well admit in public that this wasn't her doing, so she let him burnish her image. Now she owed him even more. They barely knew each other. With bubble tea in hand, the fans started to get excited. Miss Sullivan, is this the him from the book? I can't believe he's even more charming in person than you wrote, so handsome and gentle. Is he here to surprise you? You two are so happy together. Are you getting married soon? Don't forget to share the photos. Sigh, perfect love stories really only happen to perfect people. Stella didn't get lost in the fans' envious praise. She remembered clearly who the male protagonist was based on when she wrote the book, even if they had become completely different people now. No, she clarified, her voice low but clear. I'm currently single. As for the him in the book, we've broken up. Chapter 14, this bombshell sent a shockwave through the crowd of readers. For the rest of the signing, every few readers would ask her why. She couldn't explain, only saying that reality and novels are ultimately different. She was sure that before long, the publisher would add a line to the promotional material, calling it her tribute to a dead love. Stella had no objection to that. When the signing was over, she left alone through the back door. She had taken a cab there and planned to take one home, but Cameron was waving at her from across the street. Next to him was his parked car, and beside him was Buddy, his tail wagging like a propeller. It was a simple scene, but to her at that moment, it felt incredibly heartwarming. She crossed the street, picked up Buddy, and asked knowingly, "My sister put you up to bringing Buddy, didn't she?" Cameron smiled, admitting it freely. "She did. I was going to bring him to see you, but the little guy still isn't used to large crowds, so I brought him here first." Stella felt a bit helpless. "I'm sorry, Counselor Crane. I've caused you so much trouble." She meant it in two ways. For the commotion at the signing, and for Tiana roping him into coming to find her. It felt like she was being pushed into a corner. Cameron was still smiling. "You have it backward. I should be the one apologizing for causing you trouble. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have had to reveal your private life to your fans. I don't want to deceive them. It was bound to come out sooner or later. In that case, could I take you to dinner? We're both single now. We could get to know each other better. To be honest, my family is putting a lot of pressure on me." He was in his 30s. It would be strange if his family wasn't anxious. Stella held Buddy, who was now fawning all over him, and said honestly, "I might not be a good marriage prospect. You probably know by now, I just ended a failed relationship." Cameron replied without missing a beat, "That makes it the perfect time to start a new one. I think you're wonderful, and I really like Buddy. If you're willing, we could raise him together." He stroked Buddy's head, and the dog immediately whined and nuzzled his palm, shamelessly affectionate. A person who is good with animals can't be all bad. A thought flickered in Stella's mind, and she agreed. "Okay, but I need some time to think about it." Meanwhile, in another city, Ethan stood in his entryway, repeatedly watching a video on his phone. It was a clip from the signing, posted on a social media site by one of Stella's fans, something he had never paid attention to before. He hadn't been able to contact her for days. His initial confidence had vanished, replaced by annoying anxiety. She had never given him the silent treatment like this before. The longest it had ever lasted was half a day. As soon as he called, she would forgive him. But now, he had offered her an olive branch so many times. Could something have happened to her? Ethan had discreetly asked some friends to find out what was going on. It wasn't until he saw the video of Stella at the signing in Seabourn that he felt a slight sense of relief. He finally moved his numb legs to change his shoes. But before he could sit down, he heard Sylvia's voice from the living room, talking on the phone. Compared to the coy, slightly bratty persona she showed him, she was like a different person now, her voice dripping with unconcealed triumph. "I told you, Ethan is completely obsessed with me. All I have to do is pull a few strings, and he's wrapped around my finger. Do you believe me now? Last night I deliberately said I was craving noodles from that place in the South District at midnight, and he got up and went out to buy them for me right away. You ask about his girlfriend. She was just my substitute. Now that I'm back and he's so devoted to me, of course, I managed to push her out. It's a good thing she knew when to leave, otherwise, it wouldn't have been so simple. You have no idea how annoying that dog was. It was just a stupid, aggressive mutt. Only a cheap woman like her would treat it like a treasure. It would snarl at me on sight, so annoying. If she hadn't left, I would have poisoned it for sure. I almost succeeded last time. Sylvia made no attempt to hide her disgust for Buddy, but when she saw Ethan storming toward her, she quickly ended the call. Ethan looked at her face, her expression not yet fully composed, and suddenly felt like she was a stranger. He asked in disbelief, "What were you just saying?" Chapter 15. Sylvia's panic lasted only a second before she reverted to her usual self, turning the accusation back on him. Why are you being so aggressive? That dog nearly bit me. Am I not allowed to complain to my friends? Besides, it's not like I actually poisoned it. Her barrage of questions almost stunned Ethan into submission, as if he were the one at fault. But could such venomous words really be brushed off as mere complaining? He suddenly remembered the day Stella brought Buddy home. She never once cared that he was a stray. She personally bathed and groomed him. The phone in his pocket rang just in time. Putting his chaotic thoughts aside, Ethan answered. His friend's anxious voice came through. "Get over here, quick." The bar finally managed to recover the security footage from that night. Okay. He turned and left, ignoring Sylvia's questions and her demands for him to stay. He was just too tired. His friend was reliable. By the time Ethan arrived, the crucial part of the footage was already queued up. He walked into the security room and hit play. The scene on the screen was completely different from what Sylvia had described. Ethan watched her taunt Buddy with a mocking attitude, and he saw Stella try to intervene, only to be humiliated by her. And just a second before he had arrived, Sylvia had deliberately provoked Buddy again. Stella had only gently pushed her hand away because she was afraid Sylvia would get bitten. The push wasn't even that strong, but Sylvia had thrown herself onto the bike lane as if she had springs on her feet. Was this really Sylvia? He knew she was willful and that she wouldn't stop until she got her way, but he never thought she could be so malicious. Of course, Buddy couldn't stand someone bullying his owner and barked frantically at Sylvia. And throughout the entire incident, Stella held Buddy tightly. The dog never even came close to touching Sylvia. Ethan closed his eyes in pain. When Sylvia had complained to him, she had omitted all of this, acting as if she were the only victim. Ethan called Sylvia. She answered quickly, her voice full of complaint. "You already left. Why are you calling me?" "I'm asking you, why did Stella push you that day?" Ethan ignored her entitled tone, speaking to her with such severity for the first time. Sylvia instinctively wanted to lash out, but a gut feeling told her he must know something. This was a time for placating him. "Do you care more about her and that dog than you do about me? If that dog hadn't tried to bite me, and if she hadn't been protecting it, we wouldn't have fought in the first place. That dog should have been poisoned long ago. It's so annoying. A dog is a living creature. There's a hierarchy to life. It's just a dog. Are you really going to be mad at me over it? Besides, didn't Stella take it with her? I thought you would always tolerate me, always be on my side. I never thought you'd be like this. I'm so disappointed in you." Sylvia didn't feel she had done anything wrong. Ethan's patience ran out. He exploded. That's enough. The next second, the line went dead. This time, Ethan didn't call back as he usually would. He thanked his helpful friend and rushed back to the home he had once shared with Stella. As he was opening the door, a strange man approached him. "Excuse me, does a Stella Sullivan live here?" Ethan answered without hesitation. "Yes." The man showed him credentials from a charitable organization. "I'm a staff member here. She arranged for me to come and pick up some donations for impoverished areas. I just knocked, but no one answered. Do you know when she'll be back?" This gave Ethan a sliver of comfort. Stella had always been passionate about charity work. If she remembered to donate things, it meant she would be back. He told the staff member, "Just a moment," and sent her a message asking about the situation. A glaring red exclamation mark appeared next to the message. He had been blocked. Ethan's expression froze. He tried calling her, but the same mechanical voice answered. "The number you have dialed is switched off." He reluctantly told the staff member, "Are you sure your appointment is for today? She's not answering her phone." The staff member looked at his records, confused. "Yes, it's definitely today." To prove his point, he dialed Stella's number in front of Ethan. Just as Ethan was expecting him to hit a wall too, the call connected. Stella's voice came through the receiver, crystal clear. "Hello, is this Mr. Davis?" The staff member gave Ethan a strange look, then said into the phone, "Miss Sullivan, I've arrived. Do you know when you'll be back? I'm sorry, I won't be coming back. But the items for donation are all packed and ready in a box in the bedroom. Everything in there is for you. Thank you for your trouble with moving them. The door code is..." Just like that, over the phone, Stella gave a stranger the code to the home she had shared with Ethan. The color drained from Ethan's face. He belatedly realized that her phone wasn't off at all. She had just blocked his number and his messaging app. Chapter 16, if he wasn't mistaken, she had probably blocked every means of contact related to him. He clenched his jaw, pushed the door open, and found the boxes she mentioned in her now empty bedroom. She had packed up every single thing that belonged to her in that room. The closet was bare, a silent testament to an occupant who would never return. Ethan's eyes were bloodshot as he took it all in. When the charity worker entered as per Stella's instructions and tried to lift a box, Ethan stopped him. "You can go. She's not donating these things anymore." The worker, of course, wouldn't listen. "These are Miss Sullivan's belongings. She has already told us how to handle them. I'll pay you, go buy new things to donate. In any case, this apartment is half mine. I said not to touch these things, and that means no one touches them. Sir, please don't make things difficult for us. This was a first for them." Ethan knew he was losing control, but he couldn't stop himself. He took a deep breath. "Call her. I'll talk to her." The worker threw up his hands in resignation. "You must be Miss Sullivan's ex-boyfriend, right? She's already moved out. Why are you doing this? A man should have some dignity. No woman likes a guy who clings on after a breakup." "Who said we broke up?" Ethan interrupted furiously. He seethed. "If you want to resolve this quickly, give me the phone and let me call her." He couldn't admit that Stella had blocked him, even though the worker had clearly figured it out. They were at a standstill. Finally, Ethan snatched the phone from the worker's hand and quickly hit redial. This time, the call connected within seconds. The worker sighed, resigned to letting him handle it. Stella, thinking the worker was having a problem, said patiently, "Mr. Davis, is the keypad not working? Try pressing the pound key before entering the code. If it still doesn't work, I'll call building management right now." She was giving detailed instructions until she heard a sharp intake of breath on the other end, and her voice trailed off. That wasn't the worker's breathing. It belonged to someone she had once known all too well. She knew this day would come. She didn't hang up, simply remaining silent, giving them a chance for closure. After days of silence, Ethan finally heard Stella's voice again. He hadn't expected to be so moved. His own voice trembled as he demanded, "Stella, what do you think you're doing?" The question, meant to be simple, came out laced with malice. Stella's voice was indifferent. "If you're there, just open the door for them. I'm sure you don't want that stuff taking up space either." Ethan was truly angry now. "First, you answer my question. Why are you donating all your clothes? Are you trying to threaten me?" Subconsciously, he hoped for a yes, but Stella was unmoved. Her voice was calm, without a ripple of emotion, as if she were merely informing him of a fact. "We're over. I have the right to dispose of my own property." With that, she hung up. The veins on the back of Ethan's hand stood out. He realized he was shaking with anger. He immediately redialed, wanting to lash out. The worker's phone number met the same fate as his own. "The number you have dialed is switched off." Ethan dejectedly lowered the phone. Before he could wallow in his misery, the worker snatched the phone back, saying irritably, "So, can we take Miss Sullivan's things now?" They were in the right on every level. If he tried to stop them again, it would be unreasonable. Helpless, Ethan could only sit in the entryway and watch as they carried away Stella's belongings, box by box. She didn't have many things, it only took a few trips. But the apartment suddenly felt vast and empty. A hollow ache filled Ethan's chest. Finally, he took out his phone and called his uncle who had long been based in Seabourn. The name on the contact list was Cameron Crane. Cameron answered quickly, his tone light and teasing. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" Chapter 17, he sounded like he was in a very good mood, his voice cheerful and upbeat. This only made Ethan's heart feel heavier, but he refused to show weakness in front of his uncle, who wasn't much older than him. He mumbled, "It's nothing major. I'm just planning a trip to Seabourn, but the earliest flight is tomorrow. I was hoping you could check on Stella for me." "Is that so?" Cameron chuckled at the mention of Stella's name. "I know her. I even went to her book signing today. The atmosphere was great." Ethan's voice grew heavy. "I saw." He had no interest in his uncle's reading habits. He lowered his voice, his words strained. "There's been a misunderstanding between us that I need to clear up, but she won't take my calls right now. Uncle, please, could you pass on a message for me? Tell her to give me one more chance." The taste of groveling was bitter. Cameron was silent for a moment, the cheerfulness gone from his voice. "I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. You two have already broken up, and in the near future, she'll likely have a new boyfriend." Impossible. Ethan refused to believe it. He retorted sharply, "Something must be wrong. She just got back to Seabourn a few days ago. How could she move on so quickly? Believe what you want." "Uncle, you're a lawyer, you're better with words than I am. I'm begging you this time. Just help me out. Tell Stella not to make any decisions yet. Tell her I'll be in Seabourn soon, and I'll go find her. She'll come back to me then." He sensed something unusual in Cameron's silence and was now truly desperate. Cameron couldn't get a word in. He waited until Ethan had finished his plea before asking thoughtfully, "Is that all you wanted to say?" Ethan immediately confirmed, "There's more, but I'll tell her the rest when I see her. They had so much history, and they had Buddy as a bond." He was convinced that once they met, everything would be understood without words. She couldn't possibly be as cold as she was on the phone. Cameron sighed. "I'll pass on your message, but whether she agrees or not is her decision." "Uncle, thank you." Ethan felt an immediate sense of relief. He thanked Cameron profusely, booked the next available flight, and waited for the time to fly to Seabourn. Meanwhile, in the restaurant, Cameron also hung up the phone. He turned to Stella, who was sitting across from him. "I'm sorry, Miss Sullivan. I said I was treating you to dinner, but I had to take an unexpected call." Stella smiled warmly. "It's just one phone call, it's no bother. It must have been work-related." She understood the nature of a lawyer's job. But Cameron didn't use that as an excuse. He told her seriously, "No, it was a small family matter. My nephew is having relationship problems and wants my help in winning back his ex-girlfriend." This sounded completely bizarre. Stella was confused. Why would he ask his uncle for help with that? Is your nephew still in school? Not at all. Cameron's gaze on her was unusually solemn. Stella was even more confused about what this had to do with her. She mused, "Maybe I should head back first. You can deal with your nephew's issue. We'll have plenty of opportunities to have dinner together." Cameron stopped her. "No need. Actually, I have a question for you too. Go ahead. Do you still have feelings for your ex-boyfriend? The one so unforgettable you wrote him into a book? Not anymore." Stella's answer was swift and certain. She even shook her head. "No matter how unforgettable it was, that's all in the past. The day I left with Buddy, I let him go. By the way, you probably don't know, but Buddy was once our dog together." It sounded almost like a divorced couple discussing child custody. Cameron visibly relaxed. "How are you feeling about my offer? Can you give me a chance to raise him with you?" Chapter 18. Stella's eyes sparkled as she smiled. "Actually, the reason I agreed to have dinner with you was because I wanted to give this a try. Maybe a change of pace would be good for both of us." The important thing wasn't who he was, but that he had no connection to her past, offering her a fresh start. Cameron said something that, to Stella, seemed completely out of context. "Good, I understand. I'll convince my nephew as soon as possible not to bother his ex-girlfriend anymore." "Is there any connection between those two things?" Stella asked, her brow furrowed. An almost absurd thought flashed through her mind, making her eyes widen. "Your nephew's name isn't Ethan, is it?" Cameron nodded with an apologetic look. "I should have told you sooner, but I only just confirmed it myself. Before this, I only suspected the connection." Stella thought about their age difference and found it slightly absurd. "So you're his uncle." "I knew he had an uncle, but I never imagined you'd be so young." An age that seemed a bit old for a blind date suddenly seemed quite young for an uncle. "Yes, I'm not much older than Ethan, so he usually just calls me uncle." Cameron patiently answered all of Stella's questions. "I had heard he had a girlfriend, but I never knew the details. My career is centered in Seabourn, so I spend most of my time here." Stella smirked. "It's not surprising. He never planned on introducing me to his family. But don't worry, you'll soon meet the girlfriend he's willing to publicly acknowledge." She wondered if Sylvia would continue to string him along this time. Cameron looked at her with gentle eyes. "You must have been through a lot." Stella was completely over it. She could even make a dry joke. "It doesn't matter. They made me furry, so I just got fluffier." She couldn't laugh at her own joke, and Cameron's polite attempt at a chuckle also fell flat. Being someone's stand-in for years was not a laughing matter. Stella's expression turned serious. "Do you still want to raise Buddy with me?" This was a question that needed to be considered. Cameron's tone was calm but firm. "Of course, you've already agreed to give me a try. I'm not backing down for anyone." His attitude had been gentle from the very beginning. Stella's expression grew distant for a moment. She suddenly realized that for the first time, she was the one being chosen, unequivocally. Cameron looked at her with concern. "What's wrong? Are you shocked? This news is a bit sudden." "No," Stella mused. "I was just thinking about something. If we give this a try, what should he call me? Aunt." Her status had just been elevated. She imagined Ethan calling her that, and decided she quite liked the sound of it. Cameron laughed. "If you don't mind, of course, you can." They looked at each other and smiled. The rest of the dinner went smoothly. No one would have guessed they were a blind date who had just met a few days ago. They looked more like a loving couple. Cameron was very attentive. He had noticed at the signing that Stella was sensitive to the cold, so after she was seated, he asked for a blanket for her to put on her lap. Stella was touched. When the bill came, she paid for it first. Seeing his surprised expression, she explained, "I told you I wanted to thank you." That night, he had run around with her until dawn looking for Buddy. "Then next time is definitely on me," Cameron said, relieved. He made a date for next time and then suggested, "Now, let me take you home." The restaurant was pet-friendly, so they had brought Buddy with them. The little dog was now buzzing with energy, trying to jump out of Stella's arms. Learning from her previous experience, Stella held him tightly, afraid he would run off again. Cameron also remembered that night and walked her all the way to her building. As they parted, he said gently, "My relationship with Ethan shouldn't affect your opinion of me. If you have any concerns, I will find a way to resolve them." "You're his uncle. Can you really sever blood ties?" Stella really didn't want any more contact with Ethan, especially Sylvia. If they ended up together, she would have to see the malicious woman who had almost killed Buddy. But Cameron cleverly replied, "The law doesn't require a wife to see her husband's relatives often." Chapter 19, when Stella returned home with Buddy, her parents were out for a walk, leaving only her sister Tiana at home. Tiana was direct. "So, how do you like the charms of a mature man like Counselor Crane?" "Well, he is very mature, steady, and gentle. He considers my thoughts and feelings. But he's Ethan's uncle." Stella stated what she saw as the biggest drawback, her tone a little hesitant. Tiana's eyes lit up. "How can that be a but? It should be an and think about it. If you're with him, you become Ethan's elder, but no buts. Just tell me if he has any other flaws." Stella fell silent. Tiana shook her shoulders excitedly. "This means you two are perfect for each other." Stella had to admit it, but she still said, "We've only known each other for a short time. What if he has other flaws that I only discover later when it's too late? He gives me a very solid feeling. As a fresh start, he's a good choice, but he's a divorce lawyer. If we ever wanted to separate, it probably wouldn't be easy." Hearing this, Tiana shook her head. "You're being too pessimistic. Just because you ran into one scumbag like Ethan, you can't write off all other men. You need to be brave." Stella wanted to be brave, but she wasn't sure she could afford the cost of being brave again. Tiana studied the worry in her sister's eyes and said seriously, "How about this? If you can't decide, let Buddy choose. If he accepts Cameron too, it means you two have some fate together. If not, it's not too late to change your mind." The next evening, while still mulling things over, Stella took Buddy for a walk. As she led him to a nearby small park, she saw a familiar car. Cameron's car was like him, understated and elegant. You had to look closely to recognize it as the flagship model of a luxury brand. Stella stopped and greeted him. "Counselor Crane, just passing by again?" Buddy was far more enthusiastic than she was. The moment he saw Cameron, he eagerly tried to get closer, his paws almost touching him from a distance. Tiana's suggestion to let Buddy choose seemed to have been a foregone conclusion. Seeing that she had spotted him, Cameron didn't try to hide anymore. He stepped out of the car with a long stride, holding a rather exquisite box, and walked up to her. "I believe that if I'm pursuing you, I should act like it. So I bought you something from a dessert shop I often visit. I hope you like it." Inside the box was a 6-inch chocolate cake, the perfect size for one person to take home and enjoy over time. Stella asked, "Was it my sister again who told you I like chocolate cake?" Tiana was a huge supporter of Cameron and had made her intentions of setting them up quite clear. It wouldn't be surprising if she had secretly tipped him off. But Cameron said, "No, I noticed it when we had dinner yesterday. There were 2 desserts served, a mango sago and a chocolate ice cream. You finished almost all of the latter, but only took a polite spoonful of the former. His observation skills were impeccable. He had noticed even such a small detail. Stella's eyes widened slowly. Do lawyers have to be part-time detectives too? Not usually, but I often handle divorce cases. You know, sometimes gathering evidence of infidelity can be a tricky business. Can you tell me about it? It's all just the usual drama of love and betrayal. But if you're interested, I can tell you some stories. They found a bench in the park and sat down. Stella placed the chocolate cake from Cameron between them, opened it, and cut it in half with a knife and fork, sharing it with him. They ate and talked, completely engrossed, while Buddy lay at their feet, drooling and making several attempts to lunge at the chocolate cake. Stella had once loved chocolate, but to prevent Buddy from accidentally eating it, she hadn't bought any in a long time. Cameron was prepared. He took out some freeze-dried chicken breast from his pocket, tore open the package, and fed it to Buddy. Good boy. Let's each have our own treats, okay? Buddy's tail wagged like a propeller as he happily barked. Woof, Cameron didn't just feed him and leave it at that. He played along. Wow, so clever, who's the cleverest little doggy? As he spoke, he reached out and stroked Buddy's head, his dog-petting skills clearly well practiced. Stella asked curiously, Counselor Crane, do you have a dog at home? Cameron's smile faded for a moment. I used to. He was older than me. He passed away when I was in high school. He was in his 30s now. A pet dog living to be 20 would be remarkable. Stella felt a pang of guilt. I'm sorry. It's okay, it's a fact. Cameron took the opportunity to make a request. Calling me Counselor Crane is so formal. Could you call me something else? Chapter 20, okay. Stella thought for a moment. Mr. Crane still sounds very formal. Can I just call you Cameron? Cameron's smile was radiant. Of course. Then I won't call you Miss Sullivan anymore either. The change in address brought them closer. Buddy sensed the shift in atmosphere and felt even more comfortable approaching Cameron in front of Stella. From that night on, Cameron became a regular visitor at the Sullivan household. He tasted the home-cooked meals of Stella's parents and even came inside to help her fix a light bulb. Sometimes, when Stella was busy with work, she would even ask him to come over and walk Buddy for her. Tiana, seeing them grow closer day by day, often teased Stella. So, Buddy's choice wasn't too bad, was it? Stella was noncommittal, but when she turned away, a smile she couldn't hide played on her lips. Starting a new life with someone new was actually quite nice. This afternoon, after work, Cameron came to the Sullivans as usual to spend time with Stella. This time, he brought a chocolate cake and a bouquet of red roses. Compared to the chocolate cake, the red roses carried a much more romantic meaning. Stella accepted them, and in return, gave him some cookies she had baked herself. I followed an online recipe. They're not burnt, so they're edible. Cameron received them like a treasure and eagerly opened the box, eating several pieces. He praised, "You could switch careers and become a food critic." Buddy, seeing no freeze-dried treats for him today, spun around anxiously and pawed at Cameron's leg. Stella chided him. "Buddy, stop it." Cameron noticed the cookies were butter-flavored, perfectly safe for dogs. He broke off half a piece for Buddy and then, like a magician, produced a pet sausage. "Here you go. How could I forget our Buddy?" he said, his expression and gaze incredibly gentle. Being with a person like this might not lead to a passionate, earth-shattering romance, but it would likely be a life of peace and mutual respect. Isn't there a saying, don't be with someone who is just good to you. Choose someone who is inherently a good person. Cameron was that kind of person. Stella's heart began to sway. Watching Buddy shamelessly roll over for a belly rub from Cameron, she completely forgot that he was Ethan's uncle. That evening, Stella's parents and Tiana all had plans, and Stella had promised her publisher she would proofread a manuscript. So she had to ask Cameron to walk Buddy again. Cameron was already familiar with the neighborhood dog walking routes. On his way back with Buddy, he remembered to stop and buy Stella another one of her favorite chocolate cakes. It was under these circumstances that he ran into Ethan. The uncle and nephew met downstairs from the Sullivans' building, and both their expressions froze for a moment. Ethan was pulling a suitcase, his chin covered in bluish stubble. He looked like he had traveled through the night. "Uncle," he looked at Buddy, who was on a leash held by Cameron, and managed a weak smile. "Thank you for taking care of Stella and Buddy for me. You must have passed on my message to her, right? Did she say anything to you? His eyes were filled with desperate hope, waiting for the answer he wanted to hear. But Cameron sighed. Why don't you just give up? Ethan's face fell instantly. She had nothing to say to me? You could say that. In reality, Stella had nothing to say about him. Phrasing it this gently was already a courtesy, a way of saving face for his nephew. Ethan's first reaction was denial. He frowned and complained, "Fine, it was my fault this time. She's obviously not going to be easy to win back." He walked up to Cameron and reached for Buddy's leash. "Uncle, thanks for your trouble. When Stella and I make up, I'll make sure you have the seat of honor at our celebration." But Cameron didn't hand over the leash. Instead, he said, "Stella has a boyfriend now, and Buddy likes him a lot. You're too late." "Impossible," Ethan retorted without hesitation. He then looked at Cameron's strange expression and asked, "Who is he? I'll go settle the score with him." He was met with only silence and a low growl from Buddy, who was now very wary of him. Seeing that Cameron wouldn't say, Ethan turned to go upstairs and ask Stella himself, but Cameron blocked his path. He demanded, "Uncle, what is the meaning of this?" "That boyfriend is me." Chapter 21, the color drained from Ethan's face. "When did you two get together?" "After I was sure she no longer cared about you and was willing to consider me," Cameron said, having nothing to hide. But Ethan didn't see it that way. His eyes were bloodshot as he roared in fury. "You call that taking advantage of the situation? You were already broken up. I relayed your message to her, but she didn't want to go back. Save that nonsense for a 3-year-old stealing your nephew's girlfriend. You have some nerve. Ethan, you know what I'm capable of. If I hadn't considered that you're my nephew, Stella would have been my wife by now." As Cameron spoke, Ethan raised a clenched fist and swung it at his face. Cameron was prepared and dodged to the side, but his cheekbone was still grazed. The two of them began to fight. Cameron had quickly looped Buddy's leash around a nearby tree, and the dog could only run in frantic circles, forced to stay away from the brawl. The commotion soon attracted the attention of nearby residents, including Stella, who was in the middle of her work. Without even grabbing a jacket, she rushed downstairs and threw herself between them, pushing Cameron away. The two men, who had been locked in a stalemate, were finally separated. Ethan's face lit up when he saw her, and he called out her name excitedly. The next second, he watched in horror as she ran to Cameron. Stella looked at the scrape on Cameron's cheekbone with concern, gently touching it. "Are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere else?" Cameron winced. "I'm fine, it's just a little scratch. Go check on Buddy, he must be terrified." Seeing that he was all right, Stella quickly turned to comfort Buddy, afraid he would have another panic attack and run off like last time. Luckily, Cameron had been thoughtful enough to secure Buddy before the fight started. Stella took the leash in her hand and returned to Cameron's side. From start to finish, she hadn't spared a single glance for Ethan, who was also bruised as if he didn't exist. The bruise on Ethan's chin was from Cameron's punch. He touched it, and the pain felt like it was piercing his heart. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. Before, whenever he was around, Stella's eyes would find him first and never leave. But now, her gaze was on someone else. Ethan couldn't accept this reality. He took a step toward her, wanting to tell her he knew he was wrong, but Buddy lunged forward to stop him. Woof woof, Buddy arched his back, barking furiously at him in a defensive stance. If Ethan took another step, the dog would likely pounce and bite him to protect his owner. Ethan let out a long breath and crouched down, trying to jog Buddy's memory. "Buddy, it's Daddy. Don't you remember? Mommy and I raised you together." He held out his hand as he spoke, but Buddy almost knocked it away. His memory of Ethan was far less profound than his bond with Stella. Not wanting any more trouble, Stella called out sharply, "Buddy, come back." Buddy immediately returned to her and Cameron's side. Standing there, Ethan suddenly felt like an outsider. He looked at Stella with pleading eyes. "Stella, I came to take you back." "Mr. Crane, my home is here. Where do you want me to go back to?" Stella used the new, formal address. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He lowered his voice. "I'm sorry, I know I was wrong. I came to take you back to our home." In all the time they had been together, this was the first time he had admitted he was wrong. But Stella no longer needed it. She simply said, "But we ended a long time ago." Without another word, she helped Cameron, and together they took Buddy back inside. Neither of them looked back at Ethan or cared where he went. As soon as they were inside, Stella found the first aid kit. She used tweezers to hold a cotton ball soaked in saline and carefully cleaned his wound. Their eyes met, and the distance between them shrank until they could hear each other's breath and heartbeat. In this intimate atmosphere, Cameron gazed steadily at Stella, and the air grew thick with unspoken feelings. Stella's ears turned red, and she shyly looked down, trying to avoid his gaze. But Cameron, moved by the moment, suddenly confessed his feelings. "You might not believe this, but I've actually liked you for a long time. It's just that Ethan confessed to you first, and you were so in love with him back then. If you were happy, I would have been content to hide my feelings forever. But now that you've chosen me, I'm never letting go." Chapter 22, his voice trembled slightly as he laid his heart bare, and his words stirred a distant memory in Stella. Perhaps she hadn't gone astray, but had simply taken a detour back to the right path. Meanwhile, Ethan waited downstairs all night. He had thought that after going home, Stella would at least look down once, giving them a chance to talk alone. But she never did, as if she had completely forgotten he existed. Ethan had never been treated with such cold indifference. He stood there like a statue all night, and when he was too tired to stand, he sat on his suitcase. The next morning, when Stella and Cameron, who had stayed the night for the first time, came downstairs together, they were met with his haggard face. Overnight, the usually dapper Ethan looked as if he had been worn down to a husk. His face was pale, and he swayed as he stood up. "Stella," he said, his voice hoarse, almost pleading, "I've seen the security footage. I misunderstood you." This finally made Stella pause. She didn't look at him, but simply said, "Thank you for clearing my name." The words were dripping with sarcasm. She had never done anything wrong in the first place. Sensing a glimmer of hope, Ethan asked, "Can you forgive me just one more time? I'll propose to you right now." "We can." Stella cut him off coolly. "Mr. Crane, could you please stop harassing me?" She had given him countless chances. He had trampled on her feelings time and time again. His credit had run out. Ethan wanted to chase after her to finish what he was saying, but Cameron blocked him. "We have things to do. It's not appropriate for you to follow." Seeing Cameron as his rival, Ethan shot him a glare. Cameron paid him no mind, simply advising him for the sake of his parents, "Don't waste any more time on this. Go home." With that, he gallantly opened the car door for Stella and waited for her to buckle her seatbelt before getting into the driver's seat. They drove off, leaving Ethan standing alone. Sometime later, in a daze, Ethan heard someone call his name. Thinking it was Stella returning, he looked up in excitement, only to see Sylvia. She was the last person Ethan wanted to see right now. He frowned. "What are you doing here?" Sylvia smiled coyly as she approached him. "I came to find you, of course. I was wrong before. Can't you forgive me, seeing as I came all this way to find you?" This tactic had always worked before, but this time it failed. Ethan said coldly, "You're not sorry you were wrong. You're sorry you got caught." The smile on Sylvia's face vanished. "Do you have to be like this? I came all this way just for you." As if it were some great honor he should be grateful for. "Whatever. I'm leaving now." Ethan was exhausted to his core and had no desire to argue with her any further. Sylvia expected him to back down and spend some time with her in Seabourn, but he was serious this time. If her meal ticket ran away, how would she maintain her lavish lifestyle? Her friends who had heard her brag would laugh at her. For the first time, Sylvia chased after him, her voice soft. "I'm sorry. I apologize. I'll never brag to my friends about how good you are to me just to save face again." Ethan ruthlessly called her bluff. Was it to save face, or was it your true colors showing? You know the answer to that better than anyone. "Ethan, are you breaking up with me?" "Sylvia, I've done more than enough for you. You're on your own now. I was wrong about you before, but I'm not your pet dog. I won't come running every time you call." He walked away quickly, his last few words carried to her by the night wind. This time, they were really over. He would never again waste his time on someone so unworthy. Sylvia, in a last-ditch effort, deliberately tripped on the curb as if she were chasing him and fell to the ground. It was a hard fall, and her knee was bleeding profusely. "Ah, Ethan, I'm bleeding, it hurts so much. Take me to the hospital." Ethan, no matter how loudly she cried out, he never looked back. Chapter 23. A few days later, Stella, now a best-selling author, was a guest on a talk show filmed at the Seabourn television station. Cameron, relishing his new role as the official boyfriend, naturally drove her there. "Stella, aware of his feelings, had saved a ticket for him so he could be in the audience while she was being interviewed. At the book signing, Stella's declaration that they had broken up had caused quite a stir. On the talk show, the host wasn't about to let the topic go, though she approached it more subtly. "Miss Sullivan, your readers know that this book is a culmination of your long love story with your boyfriend. Did he give you a lot of support while you were writing it? You must have been very happy together." "Not really," Stella said, understanding the host's intention. She didn't beat around the bush. "When I was writing this book, the happiness was something I only perceived from my side. The outcome wasn't good, but it was a learning experience for me, allowing me to shout from the audience entrance cut her off." Wait, everyone's attention was drawn to the source of the interruption, and a buzz of speculation filled the studio. Only Cameron recognized him. It was Ethan, looking even more haggard than before. "The outcome can still be good," he said, his eyes fixed on Stella on the stage. "Stella, we can start over. We can give this book a happy ending in real life, too." The man who had once been too proud to ever bow his head to Stella was now begging for her forgiveness in front of a live audience. The old Stella might have been moved, but the new her only found it troublesome. The host, sensing a dramatic moment, didn't intervene, simply signaling the director to get a close-up. The whispers in the audience had now grown into audible discussions. Is this a real-life redemption arc? He's handsome, but causing a scene like this is a bit obsessive. No wonder they broke up. He seems like the type you date, not the type you marry. The guy from the book signing seemed more like marriage material. Stella heard it all clearly but remained unmoved. She turned to the host. "Could you please call security? Otherwise, we won't be able to continue with the show." The host had no choice but to have security escort Ethan out. The drama came to an end. Stella didn't even glance in Ethan's direction. In the next segment, she offered a message to all the young women in the audience. Love stories only need a happy ending in books. In real life, we must know when to cut our losses, let go of hopeless romanticism, and bravely embrace a new life. Her words came from the heart. From the audience, Cameron applauded enthusiastically for her closing remarks. When the show was over, he met her, and they left the building together. The audience had already dispersed, and only the crew was left packing up. Unsurprisingly, they saw someone waiting in the parking lot. Ethan stood there, his eyes red, ignoring the strange looks from passers-by, just watching them. The three of them couldn't pretend they didn't see each other. Stella, as before, treated him as if he were invisible. But just as she was about to get into the car, he pleaded, "This time, I'm just asking for a chance to talk to you. Please let me finish what I have to say." His demands had shrunk, his tone now bordering on humble. Stella paused, looking somewhat conflicted. Ethan immediately stepped forward. 5 minutes, just a few words." "Please," Cameron, seeing the situation, graciously said, "I have a work call I need to make. I can step aside and talk to my client for 5 minutes." With him there, certain things couldn't be said. He was willing to give them a chance to find closure. Stella nodded, and Cameron walked away. Chapter 24. The parking lot was spacious, and a cold wind blew through occasionally. Stella instinctively hugged herself. Ethan took off his jacket to put it on her, but she refused. 5 minutes, Stella reminded him. Ethan gave a bitter smile. "Okay, I just wanted to tell you that I know everything now. She wasn't the person I imagined her to be. I really miss the time we spent together." He was truly regretful, but Stella said, "Have you ever considered that the person you imagined never existed in the first place? That time wasn't beautiful for me. It was a wound. I'm doing very well now. I hope you can step out of your fantasy and live in reality." This was the last piece of goodwill she could offer him. A sharp pain shot through Ethan's heart. He asked, "So, will you choose my uncle?" "I'm considering it," Stella said, seeing no reason to lie. Before he could ask anything else, she glanced at her watch. 5 minutes are up. Cameron is coming back. In the distance, Cameron was indeed returning, not a second more, not a second less. Without looking back, Stella walked away from Ethan. He stood there, watching her until she disappeared from his sight. Cameron helped her into his car and then shared some news. "Actually, that wasn't a client on the phone, it was the police. Do you remember that case I told you about? The one where the wife sued her husband for transferring marital assets to his mistress. I remember, but didn't you win the case? Did something happen?" "Yes," Cameron said gently. We recovered the wife's share of the joint property, but her husband's mistress lived a very extravagant life. She spent it all while traveling the world and now has no way to pay it back. The story reminded Stella of someone. She asked, "So what happens now?" Cameron explained patiently. "The court will freeze her assets. If that's not enough, she'll have to go to jail. The police just called to tell me that she was caught trying to flee the country." Stella said flatly, "You reap what you sow." "There's nothing more to say," Cameron asked. "Don't you want to know who she is? You actually know her." Stella had already guessed from his overly gentle expression. She smiled dismissively. "Does it matter anymore?" "Let's go home. You're right. None of that matters anymore." Cameron took her hand. "Shall we go celebrate?" The day before he was set to leave Seabourn, Ethan received a call. Sylvia's desperate voice pleaded through the phone, "Ethan, you're the only one who can save me now." Ethan was annoyed. What does that have to do with me? Her pity party wasn't going to work on him anymore, but Sylvia burst into tears. "I swear, this time it's real. I've been arrested. You're the only one who can help me. No one else will." When she was on top of the world, she had plenty of friends. But the moment they heard she was arrested, they all ran for the hills. In the end, she had no choice but to swallow her pride and beg Ethan. He was her last hope. Ethan listened to her with a blank expression and then gave a non-committal response. Stella was right. It was time for him to face the mistakes he had made instead of constantly running away. In the detention center, Sylvia was a far cry from her former glamorous self. Through the glass partition, she asked in a trembling voice, "You're here to save me, right? That amount of money is nothing to you. His wife is threatening me. If I don't pay it back, she'll send me to jail. Ethan, you have to get me out of here. It's only a few million. You'll save me, won't you?" "I'm here to ask you some questions," Ethan said, done with being her fool. "I already know why you're in here. Were you stringing me along as a backup while you were a rich old man's mistress?" The thought that while he was at her beck and call, even hurting Stella for her, she was flirting with an old man made him so angry he could barely breathe. Sylvia was still trying to argue. "It's a misunderstanding. He was the one pursuing me. I just accepted his gifts. What's wrong with that?" Ethan sneered. "It's always someone else's fault. You're never wrong, are you?" He held up his phone to the glass partition, displaying the chat history between the old man and Sylvia that the man's wife had given him. The messages weren't obscene, but they were extremely flirtatious, enough to make anyone suspicious. Most importantly, the words were identical to messages Sylvia had sent him in the past. Finally, Sylvia was speechless. Her eyes darted around, and she could only stammer denials. "Can't you just forgive me one more time?" Ethan slammed his phone on the table in a rage, stood up, and pointed at her. "You two-timing tramp." Chapter 25, it was clear he wasn't going to give her any money. And a man who wouldn't give her money was useless to her. Realizing this, Sylvia dropped her soft act and shot back. "And you think you're so great? You had a girlfriend while you were still messing around with me. You kept saying you weren't cheating, but do I really need to spell out what was on your mind?" "Sylvia, Stella, you really think you're some kind of Casanova, playing the substitute game. I'm not dead yet." When it came to slinging mud, she was an expert, and she quickly rendered Ethan speechless. Ethan's chest heaved with anger. He couldn't win the argument, so he simply threw out a "you can think about what you've done" and stormed out of the detention center. 3 months later, back in his own city, Ethan received an invitation from Seabourn. Inside the elegant card was a wedding photo of Stella and Cameron. They were holding each other close, their smiles genuine and full of happiness. It was the first time Ethan had ever seen this side of Stella, a beauty he had never noticed before. But she no longer belonged to him. That night, Ethan went to a bar and tried to drink himself into a stupor, but the more he drank, the more sober he felt. His friends, learning the reason, tried to comfort him. "It's been so long since you broke up. You need to move on. It's just your ex getting married. It's not the end of the world." "I mean, what can you do? It's just going to be a little awkward when you see each other in the future." "It's been 3 months. You've been like this every day since you got back from Seabourn. If you keep this up, you're going to waste away." Every word was like a knife twisting in Ethan's heart. He opened a bottle of hard liquor and, without even adding ice, poured it straight into his mouth. Someone tried to stop him, but he pushed them away. His vision blurred as he said, "It was right here. This is where I lost her for good. A friend who knew the whole story advised, maybe you should go home and drink? Home? What home do I have? It's just a house. A place without her is. His words trailed off as the alcohol finally took over, and he collapsed onto the table. His friends shook his shoulder, but he was out cold. They had no choice but to get him a room at the hotel upstairs. Ethan was drunk for 2 days. By the time he woke up, there were less than 24 hours until the wedding date on the invitation. He didn't waste any time. He showered, changed, and once he looked presentable, he booked a flight to Seabourn. But even so, he was too late. In the center of the grand, packed banquet hall, under the officiant's guidance, Stella said, "I do." Her eyes were only for Cameron. They looked at each other, and as if holding a precious treasure, they exchanged rings and then kissed. In that instant, Ethan's heart felt like it was being torn apart. But he didn't even have the right to object. He could only stand there, stunned. It wasn't until a relative they both knew pulled him to a seat that he moved. Stella and Cameron had put a lot of thought into their wedding. After the Western-style ceremony, the reception followed traditional customs, including the toasting of the guests. Stella wore a beautiful, crimson sheath dress as she and Cameron went from table to table, toasting their friends and family. Cameron stayed by her side the entire time, secretly swapping her red wine for grape juice and gallantly drinking most of the toasts for her. By the time they reached Ethan's table, Stella was only slightly tipsy. Ethan stood up. "A toast to you both." He couldn't bring himself to say words like, "happily ever after," nor could he bring himself to address her by her new title. He just stared at her, his eyes filled with a complex mix of emotions he couldn't put into words. But Stella treated him no differently than any other guest. She smiled. "Thank you for coming to our wedding." Her words felt like a tight fist squeezing his heart. He managed to choke out, "I wish you happiness." "You, not you both." He still couldn't bring himself to wish Cameron well. Stella, still unfazed, simply said, "Thank you." And with that, she turned and moved on to the next table with Cameron. They walked arm in arm, whispering to each other from time to time. And almost all the toasts were drunk by Cameron alone. He protected Stella like a precious jewel, unwilling to let her suffer even the slightest discomfort. Cameron asked her softly, "Have you decided yet? Where do you want to go for our honeymoon?" "I have a long vacation. We can go anywhere." "Really? Then I have a request," Stella said, now able to say whatever she wanted in front of him. After a moment's thought, she joked, "How about a trip around the world?" "Of course," Cameron agreed without hesitation. "We'll take Buddy with us. We can leave tomorrow." The end.